Hey, what's up, people? Welcome to my review and in-depth analysis for X-Men First Class, a highly overrated film. I can't tell you how baffled I am that there are some people out there that consider this to be the best X-Men film ever made. And to that I say, as an X-Men fan who's read nearly every issue from 1963 to 2012, you're out of your mind. And the main reason why is because this, without a doubt, is the dumbest X-Men film ever made. Now, that being said, I will say something positive about this film. I will say that this is a fun movie. It's fun. One thing that this movie does right is that it captures the spirit of those early 1960s Stan Lee, Jack Kirby comics. That is what this film does great. This film really hits the nail when it comes to that. However, the plot is terribly written. Terribly written. And the villain, Sebastian Shaw and the Hellfire Clubs, their plan is so fucking stupid that I really think you could take like the worst cartoon ever written and it's nowhere near as bad as this. So Sebastian Shaw's plan is basically that he wants to start the nuclear apocalypse because the humans want to kill us. Because we wanted to because the humans don't trust mutants or don't like mutants. And you know what? This isn't even a reality because this film takes place before mutants even revealed themselves to the world. So it's just Sebastian Shaw who's insane and is just like, let's start a nuclear apocalypse so that we can create more mutants because nuclear fallout will create mutations. And that is just so fucking stupid. As if mutants can't die from radiation or, okay, forget the radiation. Mutants can't die from an atomic blast? Okay, like causing nuclear war all throughout the planet isn't going to create more mutants. It's going to kill people, mutants included. And then Magneto's whole like the sentiments that Magneto had at the very end of this film is just so fucking dumb. He's over here like, the humans want to kill us because we want to start a nuclear apocalypse. See? They want to kill us. So therefore, let me turn these missiles around to kill them. As if the mutants don't have a right to exist. This film is terribly written. And it does a terrible job at basically recreating the sentiments that Magneto has in the comic books, which is that I've been through persecution at the hands of humanity. Magneto is a Holocaust survivor. He's seen first-handedly how humanity not only treats mutants, but treats each other. And he also lost his wife and children in another incident that involved war. But see, in this film, I feel like that sentiment isn't present simply for the fact that Sebastian Shaw is a mutant. It makes no fucking sense that Magneto is like, oh, I hate the Nazis and all this shit, or I hate humanity, when it was a mutant who was a Nazi, a high-ranking Nazi official, that killed his mother. It would have made way more sense if it was just a regular Nazi, a human Nazi that killed his mom. Then he would be really upset. And then him subscribing to these sentiments that humanity can't be trusted, they killed my mother, etc., etc. It would totally be more valid. But we're going to get into all this. And like I said, this movie, the plot, the villain's plot is so fucking dumb. Dumber than any other X-Men film. But what this film does right is in the fun department, capturing the spirit of those early comics. So, another thing that this movie fails to show is that it fails to show the persecution of mutants. And this is a failing that is present throughout almost all the X-Men films during the 20th Century Fox era. Monumental failure. You read those comic books, the X-Men comic books, you watch the old 1990s animated series, and you see mutants being persecuted like African Americans during the Jim Crow era. You see them being chased. You see them being lynched. You see them being stoned. You see them being humiliated. But you don't see that in any of these movies, and it is a major failing because Magneto's whole sentiment is that, oh, look at these humans. The humans, they want to destroy us. And I'm like, yeah, they do want to destroy you because Sebastian Shaw, your fellow mutant, wants to fucking cause the nuclear apocalypse, you fucking moron. Another thing, this film and the series fails to show the persecution of mutants and some of the child abuse. Like, that's another theme that's inherent in the X-Men series as far as the comic books and even some of the cartoons, man. There are scenes where a parent finds out that their son or daughter is a mutant, and then the parent disowns them, abuses them. And, it's just these films are nothing but a huge shortcoming when it comes to conveying the essence and spirit of X-Men. And this film is the same. It's the same. And like I said, this plot is poorly written. It's juvenile. The villain's plot or the villain's plan, it's poorly written, juvenile, like a 9-year-old wrote it. There's no nuance. There's no intellectual calculation as far as plot logistics. Sebastian Shaw's plan is so fucking stupid. I mean, maybe you're trying to legitimize that he's insane, but I feel like that's a long shot. That's just me trying to rationalize the bad writing. Sebastian Shaw wants to create a nuclear war to make mutants stronger and destroy regular humans. So this film concludes that because of the nuclear age, there's more mutations. And Sebastian Shaw wants more mutants. Why? Why does Sebastian Shaw want more mutants? It's not communicated to me at all. It's not in the movie. It's just, oh, I want to create more mutants. So let's cause the nuclear apocalypse and then there will be more mutants. Never mind how all these nuclear explosions may potentially destroy all existing mutants or people with DNA that are prone to mutation. Oh, but fuck it. So fucking stupid. Another thing that I have to ask myself while watching this stupid fucking movie is why would the Russians blindly follow one quote-unquote general and this general's suggestions? So what am I referring to? I'm referring to that general that Sebastian Shaw intimidated to move the missiles to Cuba. So he just has to convince one general, and then all of the Soviet Union is just like, okay, let's do whatever this one general asks. What the fuck? Nobody else in the Soviet Union, none of the other Russians, don't ask questions whatsoever to the general at all? I mean, again, the more I think about this movie, the more I fucking hate it, and the more it is just illuminated that it's so fucking stupid. Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev Like, you should have had him in the movie and had him be the one that was convinced by Sebastian Shaw. Then that would have made sense, right? To have the Soviet premier be convinced by Shaw. Then it's like, okay, we can't ask any questions. It's the Soviet premier. It's the head honcho of the Soviet Union that's giving the orders. We got to do it. But instead, it's just one fucking measly general. Again, this film is written like a 9-year-old wrote it. It's ridiculous. And again, another thing that's ridiculous is that Eric, Magneto's arch nemesis, is a mutant. But he hates mutants. Who the fuck wrote this stupid shit? Bryan Singer wrote it. And Matthew Vaughn and his wife. That's who wrote it. This goddamn trash. So, Eric, Magneto, his anger towards humanity is purely based on the hypothetical in this film. It's not based on actual mutant persecution because the mutants have not revealed themselves yet. The more I state this stuff, the more frustrating it is because I just see all the countless videos on YouTube that praise this film as one of the best X-Men films, and this film is like, no, it's one of the worst. It's one of the worst. This movie is stupid. So, another problem that I have with this film is that the film goes out of its way to make us empathize with Eric, make us empathize with Magneto. We see his struggle, we see what he goes through, we see he's lived a life of significant hardship. But now when it comes to Xavier, someone that is like equally important as far as developing the characters for this film, it is a monumental failure. This film needed to do two things. It needed to dive deep into the psyche and spirit of Magneto, and the same for Xavier. And it failed in regards to Xavier. It failed epically. Epically. So we see all the hardship that Magneto has been through. But compare that to Xavier. And Xavier, he's depicted as a fucking spoiled little brat, frat boy, drinking and partying, and that's it. That's it. And that gives him the moral authority to basically be like, hey, Eric, be nonviolent. Totally destroys the dynamic between these two. So fucking stupid. And I know it's hard to see it because you have two great actors, James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender, playing it out, and on the surface level, you're like, man, these guys have great chemistry. This is amazing. Hey, I'm not doubting that. Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy are perfectly casted as the young versions of Magneto and Xavier. However, the writing failed them. It failed them. Especially Xavier. Because this movie makes Xavier look like a spoiled little frat boy bitch. I hate it. Now, in the comic books, Xavier endured significant hardship in his youth, just like Magneto. Well, not just like Magneto, but I'm just saying, like, they both had hardship. It wasn't that, oh, Xavier, he's a rich kid, and that's it. That's it, man. Like, and there's even a comment in the film where Xavier takes Magneto to his mansion, and then Magneto sarcastically says, wow, life must have been hard for you, or something like that. Sarcastically, he's saying that. I'm paraphrasing, but something along those lines. And it's despicable, man. It's completely fucking despicable, because it's like, really? That's what you did for Xavier? Like, and it's no wonder that it's like, not only is Magneto saying that, but me as an audience member, I'm saying that And I'm saying it in a negative way, like, dude, you fucking totally took a shit on Xavier. Let's talk about Xavier's upbringing in the comics and even in the 1990s animated series. Like, look, Xavier started to have his mutant powers develop as a young boy, and it nearly drove him insane hearing other people's thoughts out loud. I'm talking their private thoughts. They're hearing their insecurities, hearing their prejudices, hearing their hatreds, just being straight telegraphed to his mind. And he didn't know what's going on. Then his father dies. His mother marries this guy, the Juggernaut's father, who's an asshole, who just basically married Xavier's mom so that he could basically use her for her money. So Xavier's stepfather only married Xavier's mother for her money. And then here comes Cain Marko, aka Juggernaut, who is now Xavier's stepbrother. And he used to bully the shit out of Xavier. He used to bully him, and it was brutal. And not only that, but then Xavier's mom dies. And now he doesn't have that support. And then he finds out through his telepathy that his stepfather only married his mother because of her money. And that really shatters him as a young man. Imagine finding that out. Imagine your mother dies and you find out that your stepfather only married your mom for her money, and you're left alone with your stepbrother who hates you, who literally torments you and bullies you. If we could have seen that in this movie, it would have been remarkable. And then it would have made the dynamic between Xavier and Magneto so powerful, like it is in the comics. It would have been so powerful because you would have seen that both endured significant hardship. And when Xavier, after going through all that hardship, that he can still subscribe to sentiments of nonviolence, then Xavier's message would have been that's what makes his message powerful. It's not that he's some fucking rich kid that hasn't gone through any hardship and he's like, hey, Magneto, be nonviolent. No, it's the fact that he has been through hardship and that he can still say, no, I choose the path of nonviolence. Even though I've been through hard times just like you, Eric. But this film, it's beyond the writer. The writers are too fucking dumb to even grasp that. We all know. I mean, most people know that Bryan Singer banned comic books from the set of his X-Men films. And it shows, man. Even though Singer has a couple of good films in this series, at the end of the day, like, no, man. Like, you're a fucking moron for banning the source material. And it shows, especially in this film. It shows, and it's disgusting. Now, I will say this. I will say, and here's a positive thing. Having Magneto be responsible for Xavier being in the wheelchair is probably literally the best thing about this movie. It's like when I get to that part in this film, I'm like, this is great. So I will say that. That's one thing that the film does great. Or the second thing, again, the spirit of the film. If you don't think about what's going on, you're like, this is a good movie. But if you start thinking about the plot and how much it's digressed from the comic books, it's maddening. It's a maddening feeling that I get. And I will say this, that Matthew Vaughn, who directed this film, his direction is cartoonish. I'm not a fan of Matthew Vaughn's directing. Compare it to Bryan Singer's directing of X-Men 1 and X-Men 2 and Days of the Future Past. I felt like Bryan Singer's approach was way more like he took the material more seriously. Even though he ignored the source material, I feel like as far as filmmaking goes, he wanted to make it feel real worldish, like this could be happening out there. And I feel like he really tried to implement a use of cinematic language. But Matthew Vaughn, I mean, he directs this movie like a cartoon. I mean, you can just compare the opening recreation of the X-Men 1 scene where Magneto was in the Holocaust and he's separated from his family and all that. And the Bryan Singer one is way better. I mean, I get it. Matthew Vaughn was just probably playing tribute, and granted, it's pretty difficult to recreate it like they did because it looks the same and all that, but there's just other points in this film where Matthew Vaughn's directing just comes across cartoonish. Case in point, that whole montage with I guess you want to say when Xavier and Magneto are hunting down mutants, trying to recruit them. There's a scene where Magneto and Xavier go to a go-go dancing club or something like that, and then they come across Angel, and then Angel goes into the bedroom. Mind you, there is like open windows, huge open windows or sliding glass doors or whatever right behind her. And then she reveals her mutation to them by flying in the room. And it's like, everybody can see through that fucking window that you are flying and that you're a fucking mutant, you dumbass. Like, you know what I'm saying? But they don't. Why don't they see it? Because this thing's treated like a goddamn cartoon. That same scene, directed by Bryan Singer, would not have been executed like that. Bryan Singer would have been like, no, we got to get rid of these windows because people would be able to see her flying. Duh. But things like that are apparent throughout this entire film. And I'm not a fan of Matthew Vaughn's direction at all. At all. It's almost as bad as Brett Ratner's from X-Men 3. Now, I'll just never get over how they made Xavier into this spoiled, rich, frat boy, womanizing brat. Or at least that's how he's depicted in the beginning of this film. Another thing about Xavier's origin that I feel is really important, aside from the whole Cain Marko stuff and the stuff with his stepfather, is that Xavier went to war. Xavier fought in the Korean War. And I think that's really important because it shows that Xavier has experienced violence up close and personally. He's not just some rich kid that sits on the hill and doesn't know about hardships. But, that's just the way it is. That's what happens when you ban the source material on the set when you make films, when you make an X-Men film. Now, Kevin Bacon, he does an okay job as Sebastian Shaw. I commend him for the way that he's able to speak various languages, various foreign languages. I think he does a decent job with the material that he's given. However, like I said, the big plot that he has is fucking dumb. It's stupid. It's stupid. And when Sebastian Shaw kills Magneto's mother, and then Magneto goes crazy and starts to show his mutant powers, he kills the two soldiers that were present. But I don't understand why Magneto didn't try to kill Shaw. Like, you kill the two soldiers, you tear the room to pieces. He's there screaming like, ah! And he's basically just tearing the place apart, killing everybody, but doesn't decide to kill the guy that basically literally killed his mom. It's so fucking stupid. That's what I'm trying to say to you, that Matthew Vaughn's direction, this guy is what the fuck? It's so stupid. Like, this is what should have happened. Magneto sees his mother get killed. He goes ape shit. He starts tearing the place apart. He kills the 2 soldiers that were present. Now there's no witnesses. He turns to Shaw, tries to kill Shaw, but then Shaw illustrates to Magneto his power-absorbing abilities. You know, like, you can't hurt me, dude, because I have these power-absorbing abilities. I'm a mutant just like you. And then he basically drops the Nazi coin in his hand and is like, see you around, kid. Or something like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but you have to, you can't tell me that if a little kid saw his mother get killed and then he has this power that he would like kill everybody in that room, but not the guy that literally killed his mom. It's so fucking dumb. This movie is so fucking dumb, and I am dumbfounded as to why so many people like this film. You know, I will say this, I do like how this film basically addresses or brings to light or brings to the forefront of, you know, just pondering and discussion the differences between unseen mutations and seen mutations, and basically how the difference, there's a dynamic there, unseen mutations versus seen mutations, and how those who can hide it really don't feel marginalized as much as those who have seen mutations, right? And I thought that was interesting. I really did. And, you know, see, another, again, with the haphazard directing by Matthew Vaughn. When Xavier discovers Mystique in his mansion, and you know what? I can kind of get why Juggernaut or Cain Marko is not in this film. And that they, instead of giving Xavier a stepbrother, they gave him a stepsister or something like that. I can understand why, because they totally, meaning they as in Fox, totally blew any chance of having a connection between Juggernaut and Magneto with Juggernaut's appearance in X-Men 3, which was fucking dumb. So they blew that. So there was no way that they could have Juggernaut as Xavier's stepbrother because of that. Even though this film, the continuity in this film is just ridiculous, and we're going to get to that. It's just another fucking dumb thing that's present in this film, is the continuity and how it contradicts the other films in this series. But when Xavier discovers Mystique in the mansion and they're little kids, he says, oh, you never have to steal again. That's what Xavier says to Mystique. And I'm like, well, dude, like, what's going on with your mom? Are you going to, like, tell your mom that you got this little kid hiding in your mansion? I mean, how long are you going to go with hiding your little friend Mystique? Like, what the fuck? Like, there is a significant amount of movie missing here. Like, can I get some scenes where, like, Xavier's trying to hide this little girl from his mom, and then his mom, like, discovers that he has this little girl hiding in the mansion? Or was Xavier able to hide Mystique for the entire duration of his mother's life? I mean, we don't hear anything about Xavier's mom ever again. All we see is, like, my mom would never be down here making hot chocolate. And that's it. And we see a little photo of Xavier's mom. Never touch upon whatever happened to Xavier's mom, his family. Why is he alone in the mansion? What the hell is going on? Again, this exemplifies the haphazard direction in this film. It is the director's job to be like, hey, this isn't going to make sense. We have to fix this. And get those goddamn writers to write something competent. Seriously. Now, I will say another good thing about this film, I did enjoy seeing Michael Fassbender hunting down the Nazis that escaped to Argentina and all that. That was cool. That was well done. Great performances by Michael Fassbender. And I do enjoy the 1960s aesthetic in this film. It reminds me of the Sean Connery, James Bond films. And I absolutely love that. And that's what this film gets right as far as capturing the spirit of the 60s and those early comics by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. You even see the X-Men wearing the classic yellow costumes, which they should have been wearing this whole time. So that's another significantly good thing that this film does. It gets the costumes right. Gets the X-Men out of those stupid, ridiculously fucking dumb black leather suits that they were wearing in the X-Men trilogy. Now, here is one continuity error in this film that totally contradicts the X-Men trilogy, which is just fucking dumb. And it's that Moira MacTaggert is a CIA agent, whereas in X-Men 3, she was a doctor, like she is in the comics. Furthermore, Moira MacTaggert in this film is American, whereas in X-Men 3, she clearly has a Scottish accent. So what the fuck is going on here? Like, this is stupid. Like, I'm baffled, man. I'm baffled at these continuity errors, and this is just one of them. There's more coming up. Now, Emma Frost in this film, the White Queen, aesthetically, she's good, right? She's a good-looking woman. You know, she's dressed in white. She looks like Emma Frost. Yeah. But I'm gonna be honest, man. Her role in this film kind of sucked. She didn't do nothing. Again, it's like these X-Men films from Fox. Half of the characters in these movies, they're just there to stand there and use their powers. Just stand here and be Emma Frost, okay? We're gonna dress you like Emma Frost. Just stand here, read your line, and then wave your arm, and then do your power. That's the extent to which these characters exist. And the same goes with Emma Frost, man. Like, Emma Frost in the comics is such a powerful character. And I don't mean that as far as her mutant powers. I mean as far as her personality. She has presence. She's domineering. You know what I'm saying? And here it's like, Sebastian Shaw's like, go get me ice. Go get my drink some ice. She's like a fucking maid in this movie, man. I mean, like I said, she wasn't hard on the eyes. She was easy on the eyes. She's an attractive woman, and she looks like Emma Frost. She looks like the White Queen, but I just feel like as far as her personality, they failed monumentally. Just like they've been failing throughout all these X-Men movies. Just like they failed with Storm. Just like they failed with Cyclops. They always get the personalities wrong with these characters. Seriously. So, Sebastian Shaw's plan, one of them, is that he wants to put Jupiter missiles in Turkey to create nuclear war, because nuclear war will create more mutants. Fucking dumbass. Now, as I said, James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender have outstanding chemistry. It's one of the main things in this film that just it's alluring. It seduces you into thinking that you're watching a good film until you start to think and you start to think about what's going on in the movie, and you're like, wait a minute, this movie's fucking stupid. Seriously. But nevertheless, McAvoy and Fassbender have outstanding chemistry. And I truly believe that they are the young versions of the Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen characters. Really outstanding casting. The casting the casting agent or whatever, whoever was responsible for the casting, needs a raise for this. Now, another character that I felt kind of like, I just never been a fan of Beast in the prequel films. I'm not a fan of this version of Beast. I don't like the actor that plays him. But most importantly, I don't like the fact that he's literally not Beast. In the comics and in the cartoons, Beast has ape-like, oversized hands and arms. You know what I'm saying? But here it's just like, oh, I got big feet. I got ape feet that I'm able to hide in my shoes, and I walk around looking normal. That totally robs the entire dynamic of the character. I mean, why couldn't you make Beast have the ape-like body, have the ape-like oversized hands and arms? Like, what the fuck? It's like you robbed him of an essential trait that made him Beast by doing that. And now apparently he works for the CIA. So Beast works for the CIA, which is like, what? I mean, what? I mean, I'm not going to complain about it, but I did raise an eyebrow when it came to that. And here we go with another continuity error. So it turns out that the Russians are the ones that made Magneto's helmet. Or the helmet that can block out telepathy. Whereas in X-Men 1, the original X-Men 1 film, Patrick Stewart talks about how he's speaking to Logan, to Wolverine, and he tells him how Magneto has the helmet to block out his telepathy, or to block out Cerebro. And then Wolverine asks, how does he know to do that? And then Xavier says, well, he helped me build Cerebro. He helped me build it. Well, look at this film. Total bullshit. It was actually Hank McCoy and the CIA that pioneered the building of Cerebro. So what the fuck? Seriously, what the fuck, man? Like, that is a major continuity error. And yet all you fans scream about how great this film is. It's one of the best X-Men movies ever. There's even a dumbass video on YouTube saying that this is the best X-Men movie ever. You're out of your fucking mind. Seriously. So, the Russians made the helmet. It had nothing to do with Magneto helping build Cerebro. And here we go. Here's another continuity error. Remember, in X-Men 1, when Xavier is telling Wolverine how he met Magneto. He says, when I was 17, I met a man named Eric Lenscher. Oh, well, that's bullshit. Turns out it wasn't when he was 17. It turns out it's when he was in college, in his early 20s or whatever. And don't sit here and try to fucking tell me that Xavier's 17 years old in this movie, because that is total bullshit. Don't do it, please. Don't rationalize the bad writing and continuity errors, please. And like I previously stated, for me, the mutant recruit montage was dumb. Not only because Angel reveals her mutation in front of everybody through those open windows, but also Banshee, again, is not Banshee. Once again, this is like a constant theme throughout all these Fox X-Men movies. It's to rob these quote-unquote characters of their personalities. Banshee is not Irish. He's not Irish in this film. Instead, he's American. And some young punk kid. Oh, and you had to have Wolverine. Up to this point, you couldn't make a fucking X-Men movie without having Wolverine be in it. He has to be in every single goddamn thing. You know, I mean, I really didn't think that sequence with Wolverine was like, oh my god, that's so funny. He told Xavier and Magneto to go fuck themselves. Ha ha ha, hilarious. Now the scene where the mutant recruits basically come up with their code names, you know, I think that was well done as far as capturing the spirit of those early Stan Lee and Jack Kirby X-Men comics. Um, Even though I totally disagree with how some of these characters are being depicted, it was fun. It's fun. And, you know, even in those early comics, they weren't all 100% serious. They were able to have some fun, have some heartfelt moments, and I think that this scene was able to capture that. And another thing that we see in this sequence is that Magneto, he doesn't trust humanity to recruit mutants, right? He doesn't want mutants to be identified by humans. So this is why him and Xavier take it upon themselves to go out and find the mutants. They don't want the CIA and normal humans to know where the mutants are or who they are either. Now, after this, we see Magneto threaten to kill Emma Frost in order to find Sebastian Shaw, and this is kind of foreshadowing the eventual fallout that will occur between Xavier and Magneto, because here you clearly see Xavier strongly disagree with Magneto's methods as far as threatening the life of somebody in order to achieve a goal. But in Magneto's eyes, the end justifies the means. So this is basically just foreshadowing the fallout that's going to occur between these two. And then right after this, it's further reiterated that Sebastian Shaw wants nuclear war in order to make mutants stronger and destroy regular humans, which is absolutely fucking stupid. Now, Azazel, do you have... Now, in regards to the Hellfire Club, basically Sebastian Shaw and Emma Frost's henchmen or the other members of the Hellfire Club, they're just there to use their powers. I mean, that's even applicable to Emma Frost as well. Like, she's not a fleshed out character. She's just there to use her powers. Same thing with Azazel. Azazel, who in the comic books is Nightcrawler's father, and who is, I think, if my memory serves me correctly, is an agent of hell or something like that. He's just there to use his powers. The guy has like one line, and then you have Riptide, who has no lines. They're just there to use their powers, and this is a frequent shortcoming within this entire Fox X-Men franchise, is that you have these mutants that are in these films, and they have no character development. They're just there to use their powers. And it sucks. It really does. Especially for characters such as Emma Frost, who is a strong character. I mean, who has a strong personality in the comic books. And Azazel, who has this significant background that's tied to an iconic character. I'm referring to Nightcrawler here. Now, I just want to ask, and maybe this was spoken of in the movie, and I really tried to look for it, but it just wasn't conveyed to me as an audience member. But why did Sebastian Shaw single out Xavier's recruits? I really didn't see that. I really didn't perceive that in the film. Why Sebastian Shaw and the Hellfire Club wanted to go after Xavier's recruits. Maybe it was spoken in a throwaway line, but I just couldn't find it. So if you are a proponent of this film, please in the comments section let me know, because it went over my head if it's there in the first place. Now, Angel, who I think is a terrible character, this whole notion that we don't belong here, so basically she leaves behind the X-Men and decides to join the Hellfire Club. And she's there and she's talking about how we don't belong here. We need to rise, or otherwise we are enslaved. Basically just subscribing to the sentiments of Sebastian Shaw. And this comes out of left field. And she's over here talking about how basically we need to join Sebastian Shaw. We can't align ourselves with Xavier. The world will never accept mutants. And I'm like, where the hell is this coming from? First of all, I haven't seen any hardship endured by this Angel character in order for me to empathize with these sentiments. Again, that is the biggest shortcoming of these Fox X-Men movies. They're constantly talking about how mutants are persecuted and all this stuff, but we never see it. And not only that, but it makes no sense within the context of this movie because mutants haven't been revealed to the rest of the world. So how in the hell would she know that they're going to be rejected if mutants aren't even known to humanity yet? Again, this movie's very stupid. And this whole sentiment that we don't belong here, we have to join the Hellfire Club, we have to join Sebastian Shaw, is contrived and forced and not earned at all. And I don't empathize with this character whatsoever. And yeah, the writing just sucks. And again, she goes on about how we have to fight for people who hate and fear us. And again, we don't see any mutant persecution in order to empathize with this. Now, here we see Darwin, this character, die, and I thought this was hilarious. And there's some people out there that feel like this was unjustified, or that this was wrong, that this shouldn't have happened, and that this character got shortchanged. And I'm like, look, man, Darwin, the character of Darwin in the X-Men comics was nothing. He was nothing. He was nothing. He wasn't popular. He was nothing. So I could have told you right away, as soon as they introduced this character, that he wasn't going to be important. So for him to die was like, good. I'm glad he died, because this character sucks. He's nothing to me. He's like Maggot. If you know anything about X-Men in the mid-90s to the late 90s, there was this character named Maggot that is like literally like probably the worst X-Men character ever. And it's like, look, man, some of these X-Men characters come and go. They're unpopular. They're not like iconic characters like Gambit and Wolverine. And guess what? Darwin was one of them. So I could care less that Darwin died. You know, and I think everybody makes a big deal about it because the character was African American. But, I mean, at the end of the day, who cares? If you want a good African American X-Men character, focus on Bishop, focus on Storm. But we all know how that went in Days of the Future Past. Bishop was nothing. Once again, a character that's just there to use their powers. They're not developed or anything like that. But I just had to comment on the whole Darwin nonsense. So, Sebastian Shaw is basically Sebastian Shaw is responsible for the Cuban Missile Crisis. So that's what's going to happen. And we'll get to the absurdity of that later, which I briefly touched upon in the introduction, basically being that Sebastian Shaw convinces one Russian general to basically put Soviet missiles in Cuba without having to consult the premier of the Soviet Union, which is absolutely ridiculous. Then we have another ridiculous and stupid scene in this movie that no one talks about. And I'm talking about the training sequence between Xavier and the recruits. Now, I understand what they were going for here, but stupid stuff like Beast being able to run like the Flash. Like, how did anybody not talk about this in a negative light as far as negative criticism? So, let me get this straight. You see Beast and Xavier basically, trying to compete as far as a running contest. And because Beast has feet like a ape, it gives him the ability to run like the Flash. This is, oh my God. I'm really trying not to use profanity, but this is fucking stupid. It's fucking stupid. Just because you have feet like an ape or a chimpanzee or whatever doesn't mean it grants you the ability to run fast like the Flash. So in this sequence, it's inferred that the guy was able to run around the entire X mansion like he's the Flash or Quicksilver. I can't believe people regard this movie as one of the best X-Men movies. It's absurd. And when Havoc puts down, the way Havoc keeps on putting down Hank McCoy, Beast, it's just so lame. It's just like his put downs are so lame. I mean, I understand what they're going for here, but it's just like, come on. I mean, it's like, instead of creating this dynamic like Havoc is the jock putting down the nerd, it makes Havoc look like a fucking idiot. Because his put downs are so stupid and contrived. I mean, it's pathetic. Now, in regards to the whole Beast transformation, making him the furry blue beast that we all know, this is basically something that has happened in the comic books, and this is one thing that is kind of interesting. However, because of the dialogue exchange between Beast and Mystique prior to him taking this cure or this thing that alters his outward appearance, or what it's initially supposed to, instead it backfires and basically accelerates his mutation. But because of this exchange with Mystique, it makes absolutely no sense. So let me get this straight. So Beast basically tells Mystique, like, I want to take this serum, I want to take this drug, whatever, in order to appear normal. She's like, don't do it, Hank. And he's like, we need this cure. Then he takes the cure, it backfires, and then Mystique is like, this is what you were meant to be? I mean, how is this supposed to be what he was meant to be when it's something that was done that altered his appearance? You know what I'm saying? It's like, to me, it's like telling your friend not to undergo plastic surgery because you already look fine, and then they go to see a plastic surgeon expecting to get a nose job and then coming out mutilated beyond repair due to an accident in the surgery, and then saying, this is who you were meant to be. It's so fucking stupid. How is that what he was meant to be if that's not what he was before? It makes no sense. This movie's fucking stupid. So, Eric is going to kill Sebastian Shaw. He makes that known to Xavier right from the get-go. And Xavier's like, no, I only want to stop Shaw. I don't want to kill him. And he pleads with Magneto to be the better man. Be the better man. But Eric cannot do that. And it feels like Eric's anger towards humanity is based on hypothetical stuff. That it's not based on actual mutant persecution. Why? Because like I've stated, mutants have not revealed themselves to humanity yet. Another thing that makes no fucking sense in this movie. So, I do appreciate the X-Men wearing the suits. And, the third act is better than the middle portion of this film. I will say that. I like seeing the X-Men in the iconic yellow suits. However, there is a huge continuity error which further illustrates the stupidity of this movie. And it's basically that something that took place while the X-Men are suiting up. When they're about to put on their suits, Xavier specifically says that they are not mutated to resist being riddled by bullets. Which basically, it's basically stating that these suits are supposed to be bulletproof. But then what happens in this movie? Xavier gets shot in the back by a bullet. Or whatever, a bullet that gets deflected by Magneto. So, turns out the suits aren't bulletproof, actually. So, why the fuck is this line of dialogue in this movie? I know why. It's because it's stupid. This is a stupid movie. So, Sebastian Shaw takes over this submarine, crosses the line, the border with Cuba. You get some cool action involving Banshee and his sonar. So that's basically his sonic scream. Could be used as sonar. That's cool. I'm not going to lie. The way Magneto kills Sebastian Shaw was pretty badass. I enjoyed seeing that. Then we see Magneto basically betray Xavier by becoming the new Sebastian Shaw. And then, he tries to convey to his recruits, look, I was right, because you see that the humans are basically firing their missiles on humanity. But why are they doing that? They're doing that out of fear, right? Because, just look at what's going on here, man. They're doing it not because you're mutants. They're doing it because there's this, you have the power of a god to control metal, and they're scared. God forbid that they have a sense of fear towards the unknown. And it's within the context of this geopolitical disaster known as the Cuban Missile Crisis, where basically America is being threatened with nuclear annihilation. But then it's like, oh, humanity should understand that we are mutants and accept us. Within the context of what's going down, the Cuban Missile Crisis, this is fucking stupid. This is so fucking stupid. This fucking movie is so fucking stupid. I'm sorry. I cannot resist indulging in vulgarities in regards to the stupidity of this movie and how it's trying to convey to the viewer empathy for Magneto and the plight that he endures because mutants are persecuted for being different. Because that's not what's going on here. Like I said, this whole thing is just based on hypotheticals. It's dumb as fuck. So, Moira McTaggart tries to stop Magneto by shooting him, and then Magneto ends up deflecting the bullets. One of the bullets is deflected and it hits Xavier despite supposedly wearing a bulletproof suit. And this is what paralyzes Xavier. Like I said, this Magneto being responsible for Xavier being in the wheelchair, I like that idea. I think it's better than the comic books. However, this movie sucks. So, it doesn't really matter is basically what I'm saying. And again, I think it's absurd, this whole notion of Magneto saying, society won't accept us. We played our hand, and now see how the humans have shown theirs? Now we have to show ours. Look, the acts of the military reflecting all of humanity is just bullshit, juvenile, contrived nonsense. It's stupid. Then you see, pride is being promoted by the villains. Oh, mutant and proud. I think that is so appropriate that it's the villains promoting pride as a virtue when it's not. Pride is not a virtue. There's a reason why for thousands of years that pride was considered something, a character deficit, you know, one of the 7 deadly sins. So I think it's appropriate that pride is promoted by the villains. Why? Because it's not a virtue. Then, there's a cool little thing that I like, and I like this whole spin that instead of the Xavier's recruits being G-Men, they're the X-Men. I thought that was cool. And then last but not least, at the very end, seeing Magneto in his iconic suit, especially the suit that is literally from the 1960s, I thought that was cool. But at the end of the day, this movie is stupid. I really want to like this movie. I really do. Because some aspects of the film capture that 1960s Stan Lee, Jack Kirby spirit. But this movie is just fucking stupid. It is fucking stupid. And as much as I abhor what they did to one of my favorite characters in the X-Men trilogy, Rogue, and why, for the most part, I'm just not a fan of X-Men 2 and especially X-Men 3. I mean, in principle, I want to like this movie because, like, one of my favorite characters isn't butchered in it. But I just have to say, man, like, this movie sucks ass. It's worse than X-Men 2. And it's almost as bad as X-Men 3. Only because of how fucking stupid it is. And that being said, I'm going to give this movie a D. This movie is so stupid. It's the dumbest X-Men movie easily. And that's all I have to say about it.